An open ocean with two very malicious and destructive entities is what this level holds. Welcome everyone to level 7. This is going to be called Thalassophobia, and this level is a massive ocean with some very strange gravitational quirks about the starting level. Everyone, put on your fins and goggles and let's dive right into this very horrifying level. Level 7, also known as Thalassophobia, is a massive sea that pretty much stretches infinitely in all directions, and there appears to be a dim natural light that's present across the level, so definitely a welcome sight coming in from level 6 because there was absolutely no light on that level. So, anyways, it's pretty huge, and it has multiple different levels, which I'll get to in a minute here. Level 7 has a survival difficulty of Class 4, which describes it as being unsafe, unsecure, and it has a medium entity count, so no fun. But for the most part, it's understood that there are pretty much two specific rooms on this level. The entrance room of level 7 appears to be built sideways into the ceiling of level 7, and the doorway that opens up into the water is directly above the water from a top-down perspective. And anything that is in front of the open doorway will have their gravity, their physical mass pulled into the doorway and then plummet into the water. So be very careful when you come into this room because you are going to get pulled around if you go anywhere near that opening space / doorway, and then you're going to fall into the water. So be very careful. So the room itself is fully furnished, and it has a bookcase against the left wall, which has several books of unknown origin, so pretty cool. There is a small coffee table, a single chair, and a fluorescent ceiling lamp, so call back to level 0. This entrance room itself appears to be very habitable, not in the sense of cultivating food and surviving, but just because it's going to be a lot easier to survive in there than in the ocean, so it kind of makes sense that it's classed as a little more habitable than the rest of the level. Besides all of the furnishings in the room, there's also a carpeted floor that is covered with a shallow pool of water that is described as being no deeper than a puddle, and across the room from the staircase that enters into level 6 is the doorway to the ocean, so be careful when you're around there. So, like I said before, it features pretty much a top-down perspective in that starting room, so you're going to be looking straight down, and there's going to be a little door space area, and then it drops immediately into the water, so be very careful. The drop into the ocean from that doorway is not very high. It's roughly 4.5 meters above the surface of the water, but the water surrounding the entrance is barren, and wanderers that are traveling far enough across the surface will eventually come across some islands made of an unknown rock, which are mostly uninhabited. Again, kind of leads into the point that most of the level, and I say most, and I'll get to that in a second, most of the island is barren and there are not a ton of creatures here. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of level 7 is uncharted, and except for the islands and stuff. After a ton of explorations and expeditions, it's general consensus that there is not a lot of life here. Really, the only things to specifically note about this area are that it's extremely well lit and pretty barren. Nothing else really much can be said about this specific zone. Located around a kilometer below the surface of the ocean, you're going to find the Twilight Zone, which has some loose bones and scraps of rusted metal, as well as some of the first sightings of actual full skeleton fossil type things that you're going to find in this specific ocean. Several of the skeletons are huge unearthly fish, and others are humanoid with much larger jaws containing long, sharp teeth and legs ending in what are presumed to be flippers. Well, that's kind of cool. The water pressure of this specific zone is said to be very strong, but it is not enough to crush the human skeleton, so that's cool. And it appears that no matter where you are specifically in this level, that the water pressure will never be great enough to completely destroy your skeleton. So that's pretty cool. This specific zone is at a range around 3 kilometers below the Twilight Zone, and this specific zone is completely dark. There are a ton of other full skeletons that have been found just like in the Twilight Zone, and a lot of the skeletons there are found to be incredibly large and fish-like. And another scary thing is that some of the observers there have described the skeletal structures to be incomprehensible, so take that as you will. Any depth below 7 kilometers from the surface is considered too dangerous to explore and is known as the Abyss. Most of what you'll find here are strange piles of tar and rock and an unknown substance that kind of bubbles out from them. This zone also has some populations of aforementioned humanoid skeletons, most of which have been eroded due to the immense pressure, but still, like I said before, they're not going to be completely erased. And I mean, little else is known about the depths of the waters aside from rumors of a cave entrance in one of the underwater mountains that are said to lead to level 8, so that's pretty cool. And the current depth of level 7 is unknown by exactly, but this is pretty much the only zone that has been explored and given a classification, that being the Abyss. But it is said, and the general consensus is that it's impossibly deep, so take that how you will. And another fun fact, well, not so fun, but interesting fact, is that fragments of synthetic fiber in the Midnight Zone and the Abyss suggest that the ocean floor is carpeted, which begs the question, is level 0's moist carpet the flip side of level 7's ocean? So I think that's pretty cool. That's something to think about. I don't know if that's been proven or disproven, but a cool thing to talk about. Level 7 is inhabited by 2 specific entities, and as of April 18th, 2019, that new entity that has been discovered is named Tiny. Tiny is a humanoid entity that wears like a cool fish carcass on its back and swims up to 80 miles per hour, and it basically kills anything it finds. It's extremely hostile, and it makes its home in the emptiness of level 7. Tiny is incredibly intelligent, and he's capable of forming telegraphic speech, so that's pretty cool. So you are actually able to have a discussion with him, but he's extremely hostile, so try to have these discussions from the specific entrance room to level 7. Much of Tiny's body is coated in a strange kind of thick layer of tar, which he can expel off of his body and do this pretty much to disorient or slow his victims. He's extremely perceptive, and he can pretty much find any kind of sound or impact on the water surface from pretty much 30 kilometers away. So if he finds you, it's pretty much over. There are 2 specific weaknesses, I guess you could say, to Tiny, and those weaknesses are that loud noises will scare him, and he's not able to walk on land. So either find an island or have something like an air horn or something like that, just something to create a loud noise. The second entity that resides on this level is known as the Thing on level 7. The Thing is highly intelligent, and it's incapable of speech, but it can write. It's omnivorous and brutal, and it cares very little for humans, and it's basically a massive black snake-like figure that is said to be roughly 11,000 meters long, so it is pretty huge. It circles its victims kind of like a shark does, and it's been known to expel large quantities of tar from its skins in some situations. Its only enemy appears to be Tiny, and they sort of have this kind of contract going on that pretty much if any of them encroaches on the other's territory, it's going to be mutually assured destruction. So just keep that in mind. These two are in a war. Another cool thing to keep in mind is that the Daylight and Twilight zones are where Tiny lives, and the Thing on level 7 makes its home in the Midnight Zone and the Upper Abyss. There are some important things to keep in mind as you're exploring or just surviving in general in this level. Try to make the entrance room your home base, and keep in mind that the temperature of level 7's ocean can get extremely low, not lethal, but in some cases extremely long-term exposure can be lethal, but for the most part, if you're just exploring, just keep in mind that the temperature can get pretty low. And the last thing, just keep in mind that the 2 entities on this level have pretty much wiped out all other life that could have possibly been here. So just keep in mind they're going to be extremely tough to deal with, and they are extremely hostile, so try to limit your amount of contact with them as much as possible. There is only one known outpost on this level, and that is going to be Fort Surrender. They were an outpost on the closest recorded island, and it consists of a haphazardly constructed shelter composed of some broken furniture, and it's all held together by tar. The inhabitants are rumored to have devoted themselves to worshipping the Thing, so we got some cultists here. And the number of inhabitants are between 4 and 9 people, and they're extremely hostile. So, I mean, that's about all there is to this specific kind of like community, but just keep in mind they are extremely hostile, so I would not recommend interacting with them. The only known entrances into this level are going to be through a staircase down from level 6, which leads directly into the entrance room. And there are rumors of a possible entrance through a puddle on the floor of level 8, so just keep that in mind. It's not confirmed though, but the level 6 entrance is 100% confirmed. The most well-known exit to level 7 can be found in an underwater cave on the side of a particularly tall mountain toward the bottom of the Midnight Zone. And this mountain is almost directly below the entrance room, and it creates a pretty straightforward but lengthy kind of winding route to level 8. And a kind of adventurous kind of exit to this level is going to be to dive into the abyss and go unconscious, which leads directly to level 83. There's also been some speculation suggesting that level 7 may actually be connected in some way to some of the other ocean levels in the backrooms. Thank you guys for watching. That's going to be about it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a lengthy one, just like some of the other ones I've done, but if you guys are enjoying it, I'm definitely going to keep making more, and this level is definitely one of the scarier ones that I've covered, probably depending on your fear of the ocean and depth and darkness. It's probably one of the scariest levels in all the backrooms. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. See ya.